Yes, gang, it's right. That's right. It's Poppy's other workshop.
And straight after that, we've got Poppy. If you haven't seen Poppy's channel, go and check him out too. He's good for a chat, he's fun, and he makes cool stuff.
I'm just killing time waiting for this camera to kick in. Hey, gang. Poppy here. As you can see, if you watch this entire video, there are two cameras on me right now. I'm testing the difference between my compact laptop and my Logitech webcam and my Android using the selfie cam. Cam. Selfie cam I don't like so much. I'm gonna stop it. Hi. Is that any better? See, I can't see myself. Wait a minute. Yeah, I can see myself in the Roku behind the camera. You're behind the camera there. I guess that's good enough. Hey, gang. Poppy here. As you can see, if you watch this entire video, there are two on me right now. I'm testing the difference between my compact laptop and my Logitech webcam and my Android using the selfie cam. Cam. Selfie cam I don't like so much. I'm gonna stop it. Now I'm going to start it up and turn it around for the non-selfie view, which I seem to like better. Is that any better? See, wait a minute. Yeah, I can see myself camera. You're behind the camera there. I guess that's good enough. Okay, I'll set this. Wait a minute. I know. Clock. Come on. Screensaver clock. Now I also have a clock in. Okay, now let me grab my writing implements. Ooh! Okay. Now, this is hashtag rough cut 2022 to alpha. Okay? For some of you people out there, that's 2A, or the first part of part 2, which rather seems incongruous. How can there be a part 1 of part 2 and a part 2 of part 2, huh? So that's why it's 2 alpha. And I got the yeller there just in case. Okay, now. My last video out in the shop, that's my last video just before this, I showed you grinding the tool so I could machine that shear line blank tooling fixture so that diamond wheel will have a arbor. Okay? Now, come on. There, excuse me, we go. I had a leftover meatloaf for breakfast. It is good, but you know what leftover meatloaf for breakfast does to you. No, I'm gonna have to. Where are you, tripod? Here, tripod. Come here, tripod. Nice tripod. Where? Ah, there it is. Ah, put you back on. Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Set up my auxiliary work surface here. Now, that looks pretty good. All right. Okay, now that I got you there and zoomed in. Okay, now, the problem is, this representation of that shear line blank tooling fixture. There's a 3/4, here's the 3/4 16 threads, screw onto the spindle nose. That's round. Okay? Now, what I want to do is turn it down. And okay. You see the red lines? That indicates what I keep when I machine this. All right. Now, as you recall, I've got this 100 millimeter by 20. That's little bit over 4 inches. Yeah, a little bit over 4 inches. And that's 20 millimeter. That's like 5/8, 9/16. And this wheel. Okay. The solid portions, if I were to cut this in half, right? Okay. That's a rough representation of a cross section drawing there. Now, the problem is, or well, the project, I should say, it's not a problem, is I want to turn this down so that this here fits on it with a nice fit. I'm thinking a press fit, like a half thousandths press. I don't have a hydraulic press. I don't have a arbor press. My bench vise isn't deep. None of my bench vices are deep enough for that. 4 inch. I do have a big C-clamp that I could get that 4-incher in, but it's a C-clamp. So my thought is just pressing fit. Okay, so that I can get it on easy. Now, my questions I have to ask myself are, okay, glue, uh, washer being gronked down by a screw, right? That's a very common way to make the arbor hold the grinding wheel is you got a big ass washer and the screw or the nut. Okay. Another okay. Now we have rivet. Also, you could say upset lock. You can know what rivet is. An upset lock would be like a hollow rivet, and you form it out. Okay. Now, Okay, the last possibility I can think of off the top of my head. Oh, my knee hurts. Oh, get it under the there. Oh, that hurts. Okay, is a Dutchman. Okay, a Dutchman intersection of wheel and arbor, drill and tap, and run a couple of set screws in. Okay. Now glue, and especially that's why I use this green marker, because a lot of YouTube machines lately are using that green Loctite adhesive. I mean, I saw a guy put together a steam engine crankshaft with the crap. Okay. Anyway, so after I've got my nice, snug, no wobble fit here, I put a little bit of glue here and put them together. Make sure that my alignment, is all good before the green goo hardens irreparably or irrevocably until you get it hot. Now, there's a downside, potentially. Heat and glue. Usually, heat and glue only go together until you slap it in place and the glue cools. Then heat and glue is assemblies falling apart. But this is diamond. Now, true, diamond gets warm, but this ain't going to be getting as warm as, say, an aluminum oxide wheel the same size and shape. Especially since I'm only going to be using this on finished grinding on tool steels and carbides. And if you want to argue about if you can use diamond to grind high speed, I'd be glad to have that discussion. Put a comment down below. Yeah, put a comment down below and we'll discuss it. Okay. Washer and screw. Now, downside on washer and screw. Washer must be hard. You don't want a washer that's gonna Peyronie's disease on you when you it ain't gonna Peyronie's disease on you when you tighten it, because then you will want to slip, because this ain't holding tight. Okay. Currently, the only hard steel I have is high-speed steel, and some 3/8 diameter 01 I bought back in '96 from Enco Supply in Chicago. I don't know why I was playing with that. It was perfectly adjusted. There. No, other way. There. That's. Okay. Now, I've wasted a minute or so. Okay. Rivet or upset means the same thing, although with a rivet, you're usually thinking of banging this down until it gets like so. Right? That's what you're thinking of rivets. Well, for the most part, that is true. What about your hollow rivet, which forces down like that? See, that way, you don't have to bang on that rivet to mushroom up the head. You can much more controllably with a cone put that in there and bang on the cone. Now, rivet has the downside. Parts, P-A-R-T-S, M-O-V-E. Parts move. When you're banging on that rivet, your alignment, right? Here's the wheel, here's the arbor. Your alignment can get off real fast. Now, last case, Dutchman. What are the downside of Dutchman? Now, the downside with a Dutchman, actually you'd want two at least. Some people prefer three. A lot of people want four of them. Two's the minimum. Not one. Two. Minimum. That'd be code. Three would be a step above code. Four, that's your 500-year-old mansion, timber frame, way above code. Okay. The other is this: you have to tap into two parts at one time. Now, if your arbor and your wheel are the same metal, right? They're both steel. That's problematic enough. The parting line between these two parts, they've shown that mathematically it can cause problems no matter what you do. Now, imagine this is steel and aluminum. Drilling, the tap drill size, they're going to be tapping. That's going to be fun. Tapping that hole, those two holes, is going to be fun on a bun. Two different metals. Two different cutting speeds. I wouldn't do it anyway but by hand. 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, plenty of time to have a couple cups of coffee and a donut and shake out the cobwebs. You know, we don't want a first car on Monday part here. We want a Wednesday, just before morning coffee part. Wide awake, all power in the brain. And his eye-hand coordination is perfect. Now I'm going to take you off the tripod there. Put you back here. This is zoom out. Zoom, zoom. Zoom, 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 zoom. Okay, now you see what I have to start machining when I go out in the shop. I'm planning on tomorrow. It's Thursday now. I'm planning on Friday, the 15th. Yeah, I had to look at the clock on the computer, go, what day is this? Okay, so let me get that out of the way here. Get rid of the auxiliary work surface, because I'm not doing the auxiliary work now. There we are, high on back. Now, as I showed you in the drawings that I quickly did here on camera, because I know that some of the YouTube creators out there getting comments from their viewers, how do you get those beautiful computer graphics made? And, you know, they have to go through 45 hours of drawing a cube with a hole through it. Well, I showed you how I generate my graphics. Not as pretty as some of the graphics James Clow, the host at Clow42, makes, but then I were born with this. Okay, now, since there's no machining going on in this video, yeah, pull that black curtain there, keep the sunlight from washing out. this side of my face. Okay, philosophy here now. The philosophy of cutting tools. Principle 1. The cutting tool must be harder than the material it's cutting. Right? Ding, 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 ding. Survey says, duh, man. Yeah, okay. Now, small machinery, like a shear line lathe. It's 3-inch swing, 8-inch between centers. Mine is. I understand the new ones are 3.5-inch swing. You know, they put an extra 1/4 of an inch under the base of the headstock. Okay. Anyway, the shear line is a small lathe. I'm not going to do, what was it? Survey says. That was funny once. Because it says I'm not machining. You know what the rest of it says. So I can sip on this beer while I talk at you. Now, cutting tool got to be harder than the thing is cutting. Shear line is a small machine. And it's 90 volt DC 3 amp motor. It's not very powerful. It doesn't have to be. I'm not turning wheel rotors up, disc brake rotors, or brake drums. No. Now, so right there, I don't need carbide tooling. I've machined 01 tool steel on my shear line. Used high speed. Three times I worked iron, cast iron on it. The first time I had one of them round bench blocks with a bunch of holes and a V-slot. It had been battered in 50 years before I got it. Mounted on the table of my shear line mill with a 3/4 inch diamond wheel that had a good face. Stick down below the screw head. And I thousandth of an inch at a time. Didn't feed, you know, and I got it nice and smooth and shiny, but there was, you know, when you got to a hole, it was nice and smooth and shiny. The second one was my bench pin clamp combination bench anvil. Banging surface. I'd had it 10 years and it got a few marks and mounted on my shear line mill. And Blanchard the top until it was beautiful. I had like a 128 surface finish from my diamond grinding wheel as a cup wheel. Beautiful. The third time, I took a Dixon third hand jig base, is cast iron, and I don't think Dixon put any ferrosilicate in that mix before they poured it. because there was no gray about this iron. It was all white. And of course, after I finished my 3-jaw chuck project, that's in Poppy's workshop, back in the shop, 1, 2, 3. What's inside a 3-jaw chuck? It's a 2-hour and 40-something minute long video. Anyway, when I finished adapting this 80mm 3-jaw chuck with a pinion drive for the scroll to my shearline lathe, I mean, it that far above the waves, right? And I can't move those jaws out much more than about an inch, unless I put it on the riser block or get the other set of jaws that step down in or up out instead of down out or up in, right? The reverse jaws. But then an inch diameter part in a shear line lathe, that's a big damn part. I mean, yeah, I can swing 3-inch. But that's really pushing the envelope. Now you're going to say, oh, what about exotic materials like titanium? What about really hard tool steel? What about this? What about that? Don't you want carbide? Remember this. Carbide requires horsepower and torque, which translates to voltage and amperage. You got to have a big motor turning a standard full-size lathe. Watch Adam Booth at Monarch he's got in his shop. That's a standard full-size. I mean, it's pretty big, but that's a standard full-size. Big lathe, Brian Block. He's got what, 32 feet between centers? That's a big lathe. Anyway, shear line is small. It's intended for small parts, not requiring a lot of horsepower because they're small parts. Light cuts. And carbide, you can take those heavy cuts in those really hard materials, but you can hear the motor and all that gearing for the headstock and for the feed going grind. And most carbides aren't sharp. Most of those carbide inserts you see guys using on the lathe, they're not sharp. They're molded and they have round edges. You've got to really push them in and push them along and have a lot of horsepower moving the stock, because they're not subtle. They are brute force. You often see a guy hogging the one carbide insert, and he'll trade out for another carbide insert. He said, oh, I'm going to put the finishing insert on here and start taking the light cuts. What some of those guys out there think are light cuts. When I'm talking about a light cut, I'm talking 1/1000th of an inch. Maybe 1/10 of a 1,000th of an inch. Some of the guys out there, they say 10,000th of an inch. That's a light cut. Big machines, big powerful motors, big parts. Small machine, small parts, small motor. Don't generally need a carbide. A good high-speed steel, nice and sharp. Maybe a Momax. If you're having trouble with standard high-speed steels, try a Momax bit. If Momax fails you, then yeah, carbide, but you ain't gonna have to get those really, really expensive finishing inserts. They're not just molded. They take them to the tool and cutter grinder with the diamond wheels, and they get all those positive rakes on the outside edges, and then they cut their chip breakers in it, you know, a diamond wheel. Freaking expensive. Carbide starts out expensive. Then when you get into finished precision ground carbide tooling inserts. I'm not related to Rockefeller, neither are you. If you don't need a carbide, stick to high speed. If you got a small machine, oh yeah, get a little bit of carbide for those special occasions. You know, but you don't generally need it. So, now, I'm going to go for now. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to put this video and the video from the Android, put them together so you can look at the differences in the picture quality. Good night from California.